day last summer when you'd planned to go on a picnic. And when you were all ready to start, suddenly big clouds appeared in the sky and it started to rain. No picnic. You sat at the window that endless afternoon and wondered why it had to rain on that day of all days. And you went to bed that night pretty discouraged with the whole world. But next morning, when you opened your sleepy eyes, there was the sun again. You jumped out of bed, ran out of doors, and you were very happy all that day. But just suppose the rain hadn't stopped that morning, or the next morning either. What if it started to rain and didn't stop for 40 days and 40 nights? Impossible? I wouldn't be too sure. It did once, you know, a long, long time ago. It rained for 40 days and 40 nights. It flooded the whole world and destroyed all the people. All, that is, except one family, the family of Noah. And this is the way it was. A long time after God had created the world and made man and all the animals and birds, he noticed that people were no longer kind to each other and that they didn't obey God anymore. So he was angry. But God did see one man in the world who was kind and good and who obeyed the Lord's word. This man was Noah. So God appeared to Noah and he let him hear his voice. And the Lord said, "Behold, I will cause it to rain upon the earth 40 days and 40 nights. I will bring a flood upon the earth to destroy all flesh, and everything that is in the earth shall die." But God told Noah to build an ark and to take 2 of every animal in it with him to keep alive during the storm. And when Noah had heard God's voice, he was grateful, and he set to work right away to build the ark. This was a great boat with many, many rooms in it. When Noah finally finished it, he went out into the fields and woods, for he had to talk to all kinds of animals and birds. He talked to the lion and the wild horses. He talked to the pigs in the barnyard and the elephants in the jungle and the cute little kittens in his own house. Noah talked to all the animals on the face of the earth, even to the doves, cooing in their nests. Noah picked a mother and a father of each kind of animal and bird, and he told them to come to the ark. Well, when they were all gathered there, you can imagine what kind of a noisy crowd poor Noah had on his hands. What with lions roaring and pigs squealing and monkeys chattering and hyenas laughing, well, it must have been noisier than a crowd of children on the annual Sunday school excursion. But Noah was wise and gentle, and he understood about animals, so he got them lined up in a long row, 2 by 2, and then he started them up and into the ark through the big door in the side. The bees were the last to go in, because bees have a stinger in their tails, and no animal wanted to get in line behind them. Noah stored food in the boat, and then saw that his wife and his sons and their wives were safely inside. Then he shut the big door behind him, and he bolted it so that no one could get in or out. Then there was a flash of lightning, and the thunder roared as it never had before. Big black clouds hid the sun so that it was almost as dark as night. And out of those clouds came the greatest rain the world has ever known. It lasted for 40 days and 40 nights, as God had promised Noah. All the land was covered with water, and not a house or a living thing remained anywhere. Noah's ark floated on the surface of the waters, and he and his family and the animals who were in the ark with them were saved. On the 40th day, the rain stopped and the sun came out. The waters that had covered the earth began to flow back into the oceans and the rivers, and the ark came to rest on the peak of a mountain. But Noah wasn't quite sure that there was enough dry land for all his animals to live on. So he took one of the doves and let it fly out of the window. In a little while, it came back, and in its beak, the dove carried the branch of an olive tree. Noah knew that this must be a sign from God that he had restored quiet and peace to the world. So he opened the door of the ark, and he and his family and all the animals came out on the dry land, and they praised God and thanked him. Then the Lord appeared again to Noah. He promised him that he would never again send a flood to destroy the earth, and he sealed that promise with a beautiful symbol, which he set in the sky for all of us to see. That symbol, the token of God's everlasting faith in man, is the rainbow. Let us imagine that it is a beautiful summer day and that you're walking along the banks of a lovely little stream. Maybe you're headed for the old swimming hole, or maybe you're just out gathering flowers to bind them into a bright yellow garland that you can wear in your hair. Anyway, your heart is happy and free. It sings in tune with the gay chirping of the birds as you skip along, humming a happy song you learned in school last spring. That's easy to imagine, isn't it? Well, of course it is. But now listen carefully. Do you hear that? It's a baby, and it's crying. Yes, a baby, all alone, hidden in some bushes by the river bank. What's it doing there? Oh, well, never mind. We were just pretending anyway. I don't think it would happen to you. But the Bible tells us that it did happen. It happened to a beautiful princess, the daughter of King Pharaoh, in the land of Egypt. There was a time in the long story of the world when the children of Israel were the only people who believed in God. They lived in the land of Egypt and were subjects of a mean and cruel king called Pharaoh. He made slaves out of the Israelites, and he made them work very long hours building his castles and palaces. But the children of Israel did not complain, because they knew that someday God would see their suffering and set them free. But King Pharaoh was afraid that these slaves of his might grow into a powerful nation and turn against him. So, one day, he called together his counselors, and he issued this cruel order. I, Pharaoh, king of Egypt, charge you this day to carry out this order. Every girl baby in the families of the Israelites you shall let live, but every baby boy you shall kill and cast into the river. Pharaoh has spoken. Obey. So, the counselors went out to carry out the order of their king. Now, there were among the Israelites a poor man and his wife who had one daughter. And just about this time, God gave them a baby boy. At first, they were very happy because they'd always wanted a son. And this was such a pretty baby. Yes, he was just about the sweetest boy baby any mother ever had. But if he's a boy, remember what King Pharaoh, king of Egypt, had said? Every girl baby in the families of the Israelites you shall let live, but every baby boy you shall kill and cast into the river. And this was a boy baby. But the child's mother would not let the Egyptians kill her baby. Rather than see her son die, she decided that she would let some other woman have him, so she worked out a plan. Very early next morning, she and her young daughter put the little baby boy in a basket, which they placed among the bulrushes by the river. Then the mother went home, but her daughter hid in a thicket nearby so that she could see what would happen. She didn't have to wait long. For no sooner had the sun come up over the hills than she could hear the laughing, happy voices of the princess and her handmaidens coming to the river to bathe. They came so close to the bush where she was hiding that she could hear every word they said. Suddenly, the princess and her maidens heard the baby crying, and naturally they went to investigate. And they found it in the little basket, hidden among the bulrushes. Oh, the poor baby darling, thought the princess, and she picked it up and she held it close. The princess, being good and warm-hearted, decided to take the little baby back to the palace. Her maidens warned her that it was an Israelite baby and a boy. They reminded her of her father, King Pharaoh, and his order. But the princess answered them, "It's a baby, isn't it? What difference whether it's Israelite or Egyptian? It needs a mother." And do you know what the princess called the baby? Moses. That means drawn out in Egyptian. She called him Moses because she drew him out of the water. When the sister of the little baby boy saw how kind the princess was, she ran home to tell her mother what had happened. And the whole family were very happy that their baby had been saved and adopted by Pharaoh's daughter. But what they could not know was that the day was to come when Moses, who was brought up in the palace of the Pharaoh, would return to his own people and set the children of Israel free from their cruel Egyptian masters.